Right, guys, welcome to the final stretch, which is persistence or serializability. So basically, what serializability is that every time that you run a program in C Sharp and you create an object, that object is being stored inside the computer's RAM or memory, okay? And every time that you close that program, that memory or RAM is being cleared or deleted. So that object in essence was never created. So now, every time that you um, make a class, like for example member, if you make it serializable, right? That means that if you save all the objects as you added them in the program, so meaning you save it, but it's being saved to a serializable file, right? Okay, so all those objects are being stored or saved to a file, and then it can be read or written to that same file. So, but in essence, serializability is basically restoring or gathering every object that you have previously saved to load again inside the program. So that is what we want to achieve here now with family members, because you don't want to add all the objects over and over again every time as you open up the program. So that is pretty cool, I have to say myself. Okay, so in the beginning in part one, I told you that when the program is loading, in this case, in the load event handler, we need to read data from all the family members that have been stored to the serializables file. Okay, so in essence, that is what's happening here. So we need to say read data from file. Oh, and by the way, guys, this is a method. Okay, so the read data from file is a method with two parameters. Okay, one is the string that you send through, and the other one, my family members, is the list that you need to read from. Okay, or that you're going to use in this serializable member class. Okay, and in this case, I think we're only using only members for this program. Okay, so the read data from file is being used in this case in the form load event handler in the main form, where we read from a file that we've created. So how do we create that? Okay, that is okay. Also, um, also remember what I told you. I need to remember now. Is that why do we say that? Okay, so that means basically that every object of the member class may be used or is serializable. Okay, meaning it can be saved to a file. All right. Okay, and then also I told you about this. If I need to scroll, using system.runtime.serialization, using system.runtime.serialization.formatters.binary. Okay, that allows us to make a member object serializable. Okay, cool stuff. So you need always remember that you need to do this inside your class that you want the objects of to be saved. All right, or to be serializable. Okay, cool stuff. So this was handled now. Now, if you are wondering, how do we create or write or read a file? Okay, cool. So we are going to do this now. So as I said, it's a method with two parameters. Okay, so we have public void write data to file, and it's string list name, comma, binding list member, and we are using my list. Okay, but we are using the member class because we want objects of that to be stored. Okay, and we are sending my list as a parameter name. Okay, so then firstly we have file stream. Always remember when we had to read and write two files, because we need using system.input and output. Okay, so that is why we need file stream. Okay, so we create a file stream object called outFile is equals to file stream. Now this is where you create your serializable or your file where you store all the object data to. Okay, so list name is whatever you provide in your when you call this write data to file method. So whatever your list name is, it's whatever the file's name is going to be. .ser, the extension. Okay. File mode, okay, we create a new file every time. If it's the same name, it just overwrites it. Okay, and file access, meaning we are going to write information to that file. Okay, then we have the binary formatter class called, so we create an object called bformatter. Okay, and then bformatter is basically we are saving or writing, then finally we are writing the data to that file that we've just created here. Okay, and we are writing, what are we writing to that file? We are writing the name, okay, and basically all these properties. And what are we writing it to? My list. Okay, so we're writing whatever objects are in my list that we pass through as a parameter. For example, it's going to be my family members. Okay, so every object in the my families list is going to be stored into that serializable file. Okay, and once all that is done, always remember to close your file stream. Okay, otherwise it's C# is going to be seeing it as not complete, or C# is going to think that you forgot something or whatever. Okay, so that is writing data to a file. Alright, now that that was covered, let's quickly have a look at the read data from file method. Okay, so as I just said now, it's also a method, public void read data from file, and then you'll also see it has two parameters. Okay, one with your list name and of type string, and then the second is of type list, binding list, with the name my list that we pass through. Okay, so then again, we also, or well, at least we have a try catch again. In case something, because I mean, if you look at this, something can or may go wrong. So it's safer. But the reason we do try catch here is because in case the file gets lost or deleted or even moved from the current position, yeah, then we need to actually inform the user thereof. Okay, so again we have file stream, object in file. We read from whatever the user, whatever file we need to read from. Okay, and then what do we need to do? We need to open that file, and do we have access? Yes, we have read access. Okay, cool. Again, we have the binary formatter class, and we create an object called bformatter. Okay, now the cool thing is, you might think, but why do we clear the list if we need to read from it? Okay, the whole reason why we need to clear the list, and then up until the point where you have saved it, then you can only add again to the list, you know, what has been in the list up until that point, and that is what we are doing from this point onwards. So we create a variable called temp list, meaning a temporary list. All right, and it's equals to whatever can be serialized in the actual member binding list. Okay, meaning what can be read from what it has been previously saved. Okay, now the cool thing, what we haven't done very in depth is the for each, and this is where it's really cool. So you go and say for each member object with the name my object in the temporary list. Okay, you go and say my list.add and then my object. Then it will go and add every object that was previously saved back into the list up until that point where you have saved all the objects. Okay, all right, and then after that you close the in file, the file streaming, otherwise nothing, it will never end. And that is how you read data from the file. Okay, so it's not like reading data from a text file. It's completely different because we now work with lists and objects. So please don't get confused between the two. Okay, there's a vast difference between both of them. Okay, so guys, please, I'm telling you again, don't get confused between reading data from a text file and reading data with with um, with persistence and serializability. Please don't get confused. Okay, all right, and that is the two methods where you write data to a file and when you read data to a file. Okay, cool. So now when you call both these methods, let's quickly do write because it's here close to each other, and then I'll scroll later to read data from file that you had to call in the load click event or load event handler at the beginning of the form. Okay, so as you can see here, when you click the Save Members button, then all the objects in the My Family's member list needs to be saved in the serializable the serializable file. Okay, and that file name, okay, as you can see, okay, cool. So we have write data to file. There we call our method. Okay, you guys know methods by now. All right, so the list name will be, there we go. All right, My Family Members. Okay. All right, so the file name will be whatever you've created here. Okay, so My Family Members plus .ser, meaning my file is going to be called My Family Members. And let me quickly show you. I hope, yes, there we go. So this is what I have in my bin folder in my project. Okay, it's myfamilymembers.ser. It's a serializable file. Okay, let's quickly have a look. myfamilymembers.ser. Okay, cool. So now we write data to that file. We create that file because file mode, we create and we write whatever we need to save. And then what objects of what list am I going to save from? We are using My Family Members. Okay, and then that list is being called or sent through as a parameter to this method, and then we need to do there what we need to do with the file or with the list. Okay, and then that is it. That is how you write and call the write data to file method. Okay, straightforward. In exactly the same with the read data from, in this case. So we call it read data from, and then what file do we want to read from? We want to read from the myfamilymembers.ser. So if I scroll down and we go read data from string list name. Okay, so what file do we want to read from? We say in file and then list name, which I sent through as a parameter .ser. File mode open, you need to open that file and you need to have read access to that file. Okay, meaning if you type in some gibberish here and you run the program and it can't find that file, then it needs to, and that is where we have that try catch. Okay, in case the file got named incorrectly or it got lost or moved or deleted, then it needs to actually notify the user thereof. Okay, and then what list are we going to use or read from up until that point where we saved all the objects to? We are going to use My Family Members list. All right, and guys, that is straightforward, and that is serializability or persistence. And as I explained to you in the beginning, it's in essence, okay, you have a program, you add objects, but if you close that program without having it to be serializable, you're going to lose everything and you have to add the objects again. But if you have persistence to your member class and all the objects you've created of that class, then you can actually save all the objects, close the program, and then reopen the program. And if you have, in this case, like we do have here in the form home flicks load event handler, when you read the data from the file, everything you have added up until the point where you saved it will be loaded again from the serializable file. Okay, all right guys, that is all I have to say from this practice. So as you can see, it's a very, very long practical, but we made it long because everything in this practical is very important for your semester test and also for your exam. All right. So please go over this as much as you need to, because this is pretty important. Okay, guys, that's all from my side. See you in class next time. Cool. Cheers.